David Spunt is standing by, and I understand that President Biden has tested positive again. David Spunt, positive again for COVID-19. David?
Yes, Arthel, we just got this news from the physician to the doctor right here. This is a physician to the president, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, putting out this memo a short time ago to White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. We know the president has been spending the day here at the White House, but we got news that he is positive again for COVID after testing negative in an antigen test, which is much more sensitive and much more accurate for several times. I want to read part of this to you. This is coming from Kevin O'Connor, the physician to the president. He said, after testing negative on Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, and Friday morning, the president tested positive late Saturday morning, which means just a few hours ago, by antigen testing. This, in fact, represents, quote, rebound positivity. The president has experienced no reemergence of symptoms and continues to feel quite well. This being the case, there is no reason to reinitiate treatment at this time, but we will continue close observation. Arthel and Eric, the physician of the president, goes on to say, however, given his positive antigen test, he will reinstate strict isolation procedures. This is to keep White House staff, Secret Service, anybody that may be near him away from him. President Biden was supposed to go to Wilmington, Delaware tomorrow. The White House just announced a trip to Hemlock, Michigan coming up on Tuesday. Does not look like that's going to happen. We're not sure if this is still going to be a 5-day quarantine, as was the case before when he had tested positive. But this apparently is called rebound positivity. And on the first, in the first graph of this letter, from the physician of the president, it says, as described last week, acknowledging the potential for so-called rebound COVID positivity observed in a small percentage of patients treated with Paxlovid. So Paxlovid is that drug that the president took. Vice President Kamala Harris took it as well. It's being prescribed around the country for people that have COVID symptoms and that have tested positive for COVID. But according to the president's physician, he said that there is a chance, a small percentage of people who get this rebound positivity by taking Paxlovid. That seems to be the case today, although President Biden, according to this letter, has no reemergence of symptoms. He's feeling quite well. But after testing negative Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, and Friday morning, he tested positive just a few hours ago. Arthel, Eric?
Yeah, David Spunt, thank you very much for that update there from the White House. Thanks, David.
Here to react is former head of the Arizona National Guard and U.S. Senate candidate, retired General Mick McGuire. Mick, so nice to have you here on the show this morning. A lot of people are saying, of course, that Mark Kelly, the senator of Arizona, is in big trouble, and that this is why the president has approved this little bit of wall in Arizona to be built. You agree?
Good morning, Rachel. I do agree. This, as you mentioned, is the height of hypocrisy. Clearly, this is a political stunt. That said, every one of us in Arizona, every one of us like me who has generations of family here in this state, have never seen this level of lawlessness. You heard Lawrence and Brian just talking before this, that if you do not enforce the rule of law, the country as we know it will come apart at the seams. And that's why I'm running for U.S. Senate. And when people on the left, Rachel, come on your show and talk about it's inhumane to build a wall, ask them, is it inhumane to have over 40 people die in the Morales Dam sector this year crossing the border? Children, young children, women. And I'm telling you right now, it is completely lawless in this area. This section of wall needs to get done, but Remain in Mexico needs to get reinstated. We need to reactivate the 1,030 guardsmen that were under my command that Joe Biden zeroed out, and Mayorkas is derelict in his duty.
You know, Mick, there are some Democrats, or at least one, who's very honestly, I think, a very honest broker about the border, and that would be Henry Cuellar. He's been, challenging his party, asking, Biden and Kamala to come down and see what's going on. Has Mark Kelly done any of those things? And what is his record as an Arizona senator on the border?
Well, he's coming up on 2 years in office. Shortly after he was elected in the special election, he talked about the fact that he wanted to study the problem.
Yeah.
Rachel, I can take you down to the Morales Dam sector today. If we arrived in the next hour, within the next 2 to 3 hours, literally hundreds of people would be streaming across, dropping their papers and emptying their pockets before they cross the gaps in the wall, all being trafficked by the cartels. The lawless behavior is escalated into human trafficking, an escalation in drug smuggling. China is complicit with this in the production of fentanyl precursors. Hundreds of thousands of Americans are dying of overdose. And literally, Mark Kelly says he wanted to study this problem when he arrived in office.
Yeah.
That's the reason why they are terrified. The big money people are terrified. The establishment is terrified of my success taking him on in November, because we have to break this cycle.
Yeah, well, the U.S. government's complicit as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Mick, and good luck in the primary.
You bet. Everybody get out and vote. August 2nd, Tuesday, is a big primary. And Rachel, I look forward to being back on your show to talk about how a guy that got outspent 12-1 wins this race.
All right. You got it. Thanks, Mick.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Cassidy Hutchinson testified that.
So we're going to January 6th.
Yes,
Go ahead.
she testified under oath.
You know we're in
that-
a recession too, right?
Well, she testified under oath saying that you called her after Donald Trump said that, or just told her supporters that they were going to go to the Capitol, and you were concerned about those remarks and said, "Don't come up here. Figure it out. Don't come up here." She said that under oath. Did you tell her that, and why were you concerned about the prospect of Donald Trump coming to the Capitol on January 6th?
To be honest with you, I don't recall talking to her that day. I recall talking to Dan Scavino. I recall talking to Jared. I recall talking to Trump. That's what I talked to on television like that too. If I talked to her, I don't remember it. If it was coming up here, I don't think I wanted a lot of people coming up to the Capitol, but I don't remember the conversation.
Why were you concerned specifically about Trump coming to the Capitol?
I don't remember that.
Doesn't remember. To refresh your memory, here's what Cassidy Hutchinson said under a penalty of perjury.
I was still in the tent behind the stage, and when you're behind the stage, you can't really hear what's going on in front of you. So when Mr. McCarthy called me with this information, I answered the call, and he sounded rushed, but also frustrated and angry at me, and I was confused because I didn't know what the president had just said. He then explained, the president just said he's marching to the Capitol. You told me this whole week you aren't coming up here. Why would you lie to me? I said, I'm not lying. I wasn't lying to you, sir. We're not going to the Capitol. And he said, well, he just said it on stage, Cassidy. Figure it out. Don't come up here.
I mean, look, I don't trust a thing Kevin McCarthy says. I'll be honest with you. He's sometime about a year or two ago, he made the decision that his only goal is to become Speaker of the House, and he'll do whatever he has to do. And he thinks that siding with the insurrectionists is the way to get there. Maybe it will make him Speaker. I don't know. But I know this. Cassidy Hutchinson testified under oath. She is extremely credible. All these anonymous sources that have tried to discredit her have first off, none of them have come in and spoken on the record under oath. And secondarily, they've all been discredited. So, look, I know this for a fact. Cassidy Hutchinson maintained a lot of outreach to members of Congress, so it is not inconceivable that she would be the one Kevin would call.
Yeah, and it sounded like, based on what she said, that he had been talking to her throughout the week because he was accusing her of lying to him about what she had said previously. Congressman Kinzinger.
Yeah, and I think...
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just say real quick, I mean, the idea that she would just come up with that story and make it up is ludicrous.
Yeah.
So on the very same day of the mass shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, the governor, Gregabbott, was hundreds of miles away surveying some wildfire damage in Taylor County, Texas. And then he attended a fundraising event for his re-election campaign at a private home in Walker County, Texas. That is all according to his campaign. The fundraiser was about 300 miles away from Uvalde in Walker County, Texas. Governor Gregabbott faced criticism for attending that fundraiser, but the next day he defended himself.
On the way back to Austin, I stopped and let people know that I could not stay, that I needed to go, and I wanted them to know what happened and get back to Austin so that I could continue my collaboration with Texas law enforcement.
I stopped and I let people know that I could not stay. Now that seems reasonable enough, but new reporting from the Dallas Morning News indicates that is not what happened. After the Uvalde school shooting, Governor Gregabbott spent nearly 3 hours in Huntsville at a campaign fundraiser that he was criticized for not canceling. Newly obtained campaign finance reports and flight tracking records show that Abbott, using Northeast Texas rancher businessman Ricky Baker's lone jet, arrived in Huntsville at 4:52 p.m. on May 24th. He was driven about 2 miles to a local supporter's house and didn't depart the city until 7:47 p.m. Abbott's campaign was asked to respond by the Dallas Morning.
There was shock, awe, astonishment on Capitol Hill this week after Democratic senators, get this, agreed on something. I know. Not just anything, though. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senate buzzkill Joe Manchin came to an agreement on a scaled-back yet still impressive alternative to the Build Back Better bill. This new version, dubbed the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. But is the collective amazement over the fact that it happened, or that the Democrats were actually able to play the game of politics and outfox Mitch McConnell? So here's what happened. A few weeks ago, Democrats tried to resurrect the Build Back Better bill. To no one's surprise, Joe Manchin declared he would not support the pared-down version of the bill, which would raise taxes and address the climate crisis. Manchin has been blocking just about every version of this crucial piece of the Democratic agenda since it was introduced over a year ago. Congress has also been trying to pass the CHIPS bill, which would boost U.S. production of semiconductor chips to compete with China. Now, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell threatened to kill the CHIPS bill if Democrats went ahead with their sweeping reconciliation bill. It was widely believed that the reconciliation bill was, once again, dead in the water thanks to, you guessed it, Manchin. So the CHIPS Act passed with Republican support this week. What McConnell didn't know was that the reconciliation bill still had a bit more oxygen left in it. Manchin and Schumer were actually talking in secret, arguably the best kept secret on Capitol Hill this year. And trust me, folks, the Hill talks, right? So just hours after the Senate voted in favor of CHIPS, Manchin and Schumer announced that the reconciliation bill had been pulled from the water and resuscitated. Got him. Or did they? Was this a case of strategic politics or just one big happy accident on the Democrats' part? That we may never know, but either way, they did it. They defeated Big Bad Daddy Mitch McConnell. Congratulations, Democrats. You did politics. What took you so long?